Gentlemen, welcome back to the Reloading Bench. Today we're going to talk custom rifles. Now, a lot of guys say they're a waste of money. Factory's just as good. You know, you're not going to find something as you spend way too much money for something that goes bang and it's just as accurate, all that sort of thing. The number one reason to go custom is fitment. There's a lot of great factory options for half the money or less that are going to shoot just as good as a custom rifle is. Barrels are great. I mean, heck, you can rebarrel a factory rifle and it'll shoot just as good. And there's a lot of perks, so to speak, to just cheaping out and not having a custom version. If you're new to this and you don't want to spend the money, then I would recommend either going with a factory option and swapping out the stock if you want that custom feel, or buying a factory option and shooting it for a while until you know what you want. You can spend a lot of money on these guns, and unfortunately the resale on them isn't great. That's a benefit if you want to buy one used, but it's a hindrance if you're looking to buy it and then you're not happy with it and you want to flip it short term. So that being said, let's get into it. Start at the back here. Let's talk about stocks. So for me, number one deal breaker for a stock is an adjustable comb. Once you set it for yourself and you forget it and you never have to think about it again. Having a cheek weld on your stock is a big accuracy increaser. So if you're shooting a factory rifle and you're not happy with your accuracy, being as simple as one change out to a different factory round if you don't reload, because there's harmonics and things and your gun's going to like some bullets and not like others. But beyond that, get a cheek weld. Once you have a cheek weld, you can accomplish that with some tape and some foam on the factory stock, however you want to do it. Or you buy a stock that has the capability. A KRG Bravo for $500 does that, and you will notice increase in accuracy just from having a proper cheek weld on your rifle and having a fixed point that your face goes back to every single time. Length of pull is important as well. You don't want a gun that's too short or too long. You want something in the sweet spot. How to measure that is as you want the rifle to sit from your hand to the nook of your elbow. If it sits from the hand to your nook of your elbow, then that's the right length of pull for you. And still being able to reach the trigger comfortably, of course. Other than that, bag riders, nooks for your hand, all that is all personal preference and what you may or may not want. Some guys still shoot with monopods. I don't recommend it. Not a lot of pros shoot with monopods. So that's not something that I'd say, hey, you should focus on that. I don't even own a monopod, so that tells you what I think about them. Let's move on to grips. So vertical grips have been really popular in the shooting world for a while now. MPA makes a plastic one that mounts on. Depending on the stock you pick, you may or may not be able to swap that out. Almost every chassis nowadays uses an AR-15 style grip, so you can swap it out for an ergo, for a vertical, for whatever you want, whatever's comfortable for you. Some of them will even have the little trigger shield, trigger rest for your finger on it, so you get a proper trigger pull on it. It's almost like a trainer, I'd say. Again, entirely personal preference. I've come to like the verticals, and because I don't use a thumb wraparound grip, I use a thumb on side grip. I noticed that the verticals are a lot more comfortable and I get a better hold of the rifle that way, so to speak. Again, stocks, not as versatile in that regard. Chassis are. So if you want something and you want to try playing around with something, I definitely recommend a chassis. There's different chassis out there. MDT makes a fantastic one if you're interested. Accuracy International chassis are the same, just a bit pricier. Who else makes chassis? KRG, again, varying. What I like about KRG is their forend is a lot more customizable than other ones. So some might have the competition chassis where you just have the sides, whereas the KRG, you can have a full wraparound, a half, a partial, basically whatever your heart desires, which is pretty nice. For me, the one thing that I miss that stocks don't offer is some sort of bolt on to offer a night vision bridge. This style of stock does not, but the simplicity of this for the type of hunting I do, I'm in Canada, I can't night hunt anyways, so not a deal breaker for me. What I also like about stocks, for me, carbon fiber, micarta, like the foundation, is the feel in the winter. Minus 25 is cold, and minus 25 in metal sucks. So I even use the half metal, half plastic mags a lot of times when I'm hunting, just to minimize that metal touch, because it just conducts the cold through your gloves, and then your hands are cold, and you're sitting there and you're freezing and you're not having fun. So if I can minimize that, I try to. Carbon fiber barrels included in that too. Most of my hunting guns do have carbon fiber barrels, just because, again, different application. We'll get into barrels later though. If you're not familiar with foundation is made out of a material called micarta. It's like a really hard resin, so it deadens recoil. There's no funny vibrations or sounds or whatever. Like the feel from recoil in a foundation stock is truly unique on the market, or that I've experienced so far. I definitely recommend it for those of you who don't mind this style and are looking for something a little bit different that is quite comfortable. They do quite well, and they do hold up quite well. This one's a couple of years old, and you can see it's got a few usage marks and scratches and wear on it, but very, very minor, again, because it is such a dense material. Moving on, bottom metals. Now this is something that is a feature that you can add on a stock, but not on a chassis. Chassis is going to come as is. This is an AW cut. As you can see, I have got an AICS mag in it just because I use AICS mags. The AW mags don't feed the 6.5 Creedmoor as well as I'd like. I like a big floppy paddle on them just because it makes it easier for manipulation for loading and unloading your mag. This one has a chassis or a barricade stop on it. I don't use it for that because my Arca rail comes down a little bit too low, so it's just not enough meat hanging out there to use it as such. That said, lots of options out there for bottom metals. A lot of stocks just come with their own bottom metals now. You can have integral mag releases in your trigger guard. You can have bigger trigger guard, undersized, oversized, you name it. You get ones where you can adjust your trigger pull or straight through the guard so you don't have to take it off. Again, lots of options. You kind of got to pick what's best for you. Triggers. This is a Trigger Tech. I like Trigger Techs. I've had Bix and Andy's tuned to impacts. Again, they function really well. I do really like Trigger Techs, flat or curved. I kind of don't have a preference. I shoot both. I like both. Again, entirely personal preference. You can spend the money and get a nice trigger. Just make sure it's tuned to your action, or else it's a waste of money. Most guys don't know how to do that or notice a difference. So I would recommend going with the Trigger Tech. It's going to be a step up over a factory trigger. It's a nice happy medium without spending $800 on a trigger. That's how much the Bix and Addies are here in Canada. So again, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know what you like, Trigger Techs, even as an upgrade to a factory rifle, highly recommend. It's your one of your main inputs into your rifle for manipulation, so I definitely recommend it. Actions. Oh, man, this is a rabbit hole. I will preface this to say actions are entirely a personal preference thing. You either love or hate an action. Doesn't matter. My Desert Tech is one of the most accurate rifles I have, and the action sucks. It's clunky, it's clicky, it's not very smooth, but it locks up, and that gun is accurate as all get out. So, and because it's a bullpup, it's versatile. I can carry it in the field, and it's nice and short, and I can still have a long barrel and still be nice and short. So, pros and cons, right? This is a 90-degree throw Impact 737. Beautiful action. I think they're making 75-degree throw ones now, so it's a happy medium between the two. pro of a Impact 737 action is or a 90 degree, I should say rather, is a lighter reset. So because you're resetting that spring over 90 degrees instead of 60, it's just lighter. Impact does it extremely well in my opinion. They're one of my favorites. I felt Falcors. I'd be interested in that. Tikas are great for a factory action. They're spectacular. Curtises are great. Victrix, I think, in my opinion, is their 60 degree is it's making me like 60 degree again. I'll tell you that right now. So again, it's entirely personal preference. But Defiance, you name it. Defiance is a great action. I mean, they've gone up in price a little bit recently, but they're a great action. And the cool thing about actions is that as long as you're buying a nicer high-end one, it'll last forever, last a lifetime. There's problems with all of them. You hear rumors, whatever else. Customer service is number one, and you'll notice the same consistency with the big boys. It's not that they're problem-free. They will be mostly problem-free. It's that if there is a problem, their customer service is out of this world. And that's goes with Foundation, that goes with Impact, that goes with, barrel manufacturers, you name it. Again, these things are all made by human hands or controlled in CNC by human hands, so there's a chance for a mistake or a hiccup. That said, versus a factory mass-produced rifle, I think the reliability of these rifles will be a lot less, especially depending on the component, a lot greater, depending on the components you pick. If you're picking really, really high-end F-class single shot, neck sizing all your brass, nothing else, well, yeah, your margin for error is a lot lower, so a lot more problems can happen because of how you're using it. If you're full-length sizing brass and for field use and just ramming rounds through this, I think a custom action is just as reliable as a lot of factory actions. Case in point, PRS shooters putting 10,000 rounds down a range a year, and they're only changing out a bolt spring every, that many. So again, entirely personal preference. I like 90 degree throw, so that's what I went with. But again, 60s have their place too. I have some 60s. I like them too. It's entirely what you want. I'll get into how you pick what you want at the end of this video, but you choose based off of your preferences. That's the advantage of custom. So I chose this based off my preference, based off shooting a plethora of other rifles that I've owned and friends have owned, because I wanted something that I didn't see in the market, so I created it on my own. Well, with factory components. It's almost like a Lego set, kind of, is the way I'd say it. One thing I will get into on actions is integral rail versus not integral rail. There's pros and cons to this. Integral rail is a lot more rigid of an action, so you're not going to have as much flex in the action, especially if you shoot bigger calibers. I don't think it matters as much for 308 based cartridges because unless you're shooting really high pressure. When you get into like magnums and stuff like that, I would definitely say pick a full integral rail one, then not one that's bolted together, just for rigidity's sake. Does it make a difference in accuracy? No. Human interface, you pulling the trigger is the biggest factor of that. I don't think it matters much unless you're shooting like 3 miles, but it will help. Right? All of these things help, and that's why you pick them. We touched on night vision and why you'd want to pick a chassis over that. Another nice thing about not going to chassis is I can have my ring height a lot lower. So you can see here, my rail stops, and I have my scope gap. Does that matter? Yes and no. Yes, if your variance in shot distance is great, like you're shooting from like 25 yards out to 1,500 yards, the less gap you can have from center bore of scope to center bore of barrel means the less differential that you're gonna have to overcome for those. It doesn't matter on the further away shots. No, not well, yes and no, because if you have any cant left and right and you don't have a level, then the greater this distance means the greater margin of error you have, whereas the less distance this is means the less margin of error you have. Chassis, unfortunately, a lot of them have a straight rail, or fortunately, that you can mount lots of stuff on, but that also means that your scope is a little bit higher, it might be an inch higher than what it would be if you have something like this. Same thing if you have a nice Sendero contour barrel, you might be able to lower this down even more. My hunting gun, this is probably down another ½ inch, right? My bell of my scope is almost touching my rail. There's only maybe 3-4 mil there in gap. That's all you need, but you don't have that opportunity if you have a straight rail. Again, end usage for that matters. Barrel, this straight profile barrel, I'm not a fan. More rigidity, of course. I think the most accurate guns in the world all are straight cut barrels like this. For me, that doesn't matter that much. An MTU or a M96 contour barrel is gonna, for what I do, perform just as well. If I was doing F class or anything like that, yeah, straight barrel all the way. Muzzle brakes. Muzzle brakes are in Canada, basically your only option, right? If you're hunting or whatever, I would just go either with a suppressor, which again we can't own here, which is so I don't have them, or you go with or nothing at all and just threaded cap or just nice crown or whatever else. If you're doing a lot of bench shooting or competition shooting or whatever else here in Canada, I definitely recommend the a muzzle brake of some sort. This is an Insight Arms Heathen. Great muzzle brakes, lots of great muzzle brakes on the market. I would go with the Heathen or the Hellfire from Mary 419 if it was my own gun. But again, preference entirely there. I definitely recommend getting a good muzzle brake that is a Guild style, because it's going to design it's going to mitigate recoil the best for any of those guys who've actually put some R&D into it. Another option that a lot of stocks and chassis are bringing, like the MDT ACC, Victrix competition chassis. A lot of chassis now are providing an integral ARCA rail on the bottom of it. I love that. Pick rail versus ARCA rail. I think ARCA is superior in a lot of ways. Greater attachment surface area, greater rigidity, gives you a nice flat bottom rest on your rifle to rest your gun on stuff if you're shooting off at barricades or whatever. A lot of benefits to it. I would make the switch if you haven't already. There's lots of options available for it. There used to not be, now there is. Again, this entirely personal preference. Some guys still like the pick just because they have everything picked, so why change? If you're just getting into it, I definitely go ARCA. I shoot, when I'm coyote hunting, I shoot almost exclusively off a tripod. So ARCA gives me a lot of versatility for different ways I can set up my rifle depending on the stand that I'm in. So finally, whole package. Where do you begin? If you go on your local equipment exchange, gun trading sites, whatever else, you'll see a lot of the big name factory guns like Desert Tech, Accuracy International, Barrett, Cadex. You'll see all these big guns for sale. And, the guys you'll see then, guys just bought them. 2 months later, they're selling them. Why are they doing them? Because they're not all they're cracked up to be, all right? They're designed for military contracts. They're heavy, unless you like hauling around a 17-pound gun in the bush. A lot of guys don't do that. So they'll be like, well, why do I have this just for bench shooting? So they sell them right away. They don't fit them. OG Accuracy Internationals had their own little grip on them, the AXMCs and the AX308s. And the ATs, and those grips just flat out didn't fit people, right? So people bought them, realized it didn't fit them, so they sold them. They didn't offer a lot of versatility, that sort of thing. Great guns, right? They're all great guns. Just because it's a great gun for Joe Blow down the street doesn't mean it's a great gun for you. If you're just getting into this and you're like, hey, I'm looking for something, I don't know what I like, make friends with people at the shooting range. Guys have more guns than you do. There's always somebody who has more guns than you. And guess what? Most guys are willing or friendly enough to let you shoot their guns if you're like, hey, I want to buy that gun, but I want to try it first. 9 times out of 10, it matches whatever else. Guys are like, yeah, try it out, dry fire it, whatever else. Again, ask first. But, in most cases, people are pretty willing to offer you, to try their gun out before you spend $10,000 on a factory rig or whatever else. Is there some cool factor with it? Of course. I like factory guns? Yes. Do I have a couple of them? Yes. Will I keep them? Yes. Why? Cool factor. They hold their value really well. They resale well if you're don't know what you like and you want to try something. All those higher end factory guns. If you want to try something and you're not sure if you're going to keep it, definitely go that route if you want to spend the money, because you'll get your money out of it if you hate it. If you go custom, expect to lose 30 to 50%. That said, if you're looking for something custom, a lot of times guys will try to flip out of stuff and you'll save 30 to 50% on something that somebody previously put together. Like a gun like this, new out of the box, is going to cost you $7,000 plus optics, right? So you can buy this on the used market for probably in that $4,500 mark if you're going to sell it. Some guys are going to be posting it like it's worth new. No, they're not going to get that money for it. They're probably going to settle for $5,000 and just be rid of it. That's why don't buy a custom gun unless you absolutely know what you want, or you're made of money and you don't care if you're just going to blow 10 G's on a gun and you might keep it for a year or not. That's the biggest pitfall with custom. People buy them, they don't know what they want, they realize they don't like it, and they swap it out. Again, another advantage of custom though is, say I don't like this stock, well, I can sell just this stock for probably 80 cents on the dollar and just swap it in for a Manners or a chassis or whatever I want, because Impact is a 700 clone. Well, there's a billion different options for stocks. So you can do that. There's some versatility there. If you're just getting into it, my strongest recommendation is buy factory, buy a decent stock for it, and shoot it until you're like, you know what? I wish this had this, or I wish I had a 60-degree throw over a 90. I don't really like the 90. Or I wish I had dual stack, dual feed mags because I don't like the single feed mags. Or whatever you're gonna find those things that you're like, man, I wish my gun had this. And then those are things you add to that wish list for that custom gun that you're gonna build down the road. Now, a lot of guys go the budget route of this, and they'll keep a barreled action from a Tikka, and they'll rebarrel it in whatever caliber they want, whatever Gucci caliber, or Ackley improved or Wildcat or whatever caliber they want, and they shoot great. They win competitions. They're $3,000 cheaper than a lot of custom guns and factory options. There is nothing wrong with doing that, but all the power to you if you want it. Now, if you want, it's just like cars. Some people buy Mercedes and they're happy. Some people buy Ferraris. Some people buy, Kias, right? I'm not a Kia guy. I don't know if I'm quite a Ferrari guy. This is kind of a Ferrari when it comes to guns. But again, if it's your passion, it's your hobby, people spend more money on dumber things. That's kind of the way I look at it. If you really like the look of a gun and the aesthetics is what it's about for you, well, buy it and enjoy the look. If that's all you like it for, that's all you like it for. And just know that, there's a lot of different ways you can go about this and still be right? Like this, people are going to have an opinion on the internet and they're going to tell you which is best and which isn't. Nowadays, if they've got any following, you're going to find problems with any of these. The difference that sets most of these guys apart is how do they handle their customer service. I don't think I'd ever own another Barrett, just because the customer service and the ability to warranty or solve a problem or get spare parts or whatever else for a Barrett in Canada is terrible. Desert Tech, there's like 7 different retailers that stock parts for them. Okay, I'll probably be able to get a repair part or something that I need to replace it should I need it. Again, if I'm importing some Gucci gun from Germany, sure, it's unique and there's a cool factor for it to be unique, but then if I need to go get it serviced, or if I need to buy a part for it or get a repair done or a warranty or whatever, well, I'm probably losing my gun for 3, 4, 6, 8 months, a year. Whereas if I buy something that's readily available off the shelf, and this includes factory options, guys, like Tikkas in Canada, or Remingtons, or Bagheeras, you have a problem with them, you lost your gun for 6 months. I have a problem with this Impact. I can phone up my gun dealer my builder, which was Inside Arms for this, by the way, highly recommend them. And I'll get a new bolt, a new trigger, a new barrel, a new action, a new stock, a new bottom metal, whatever part, whatever, anything I need. I'll have it in 2 days or less. Why? Because they're just down the street from me. So that is a powerful factor in deciding on what kind of gun you go with. Same thing. I want to change calibers on this gun. He's got pre-fits on the shelf. I'll say, hey, I got my Impact. I want to go from 6.5 Creedmoor to 6 Creedmoor. Or I want to go to, I don't know, whatever the 308 bolt face, 22-250 for coyotes. I want a shorter carbon fiber barrel for this. Cool beans, bro. I got it in less than a week. Whereas if I had a factory option and I wasn't set up to rebarrel with go and no-go gauges and all that and chambering, I might be out 2 months, 6 months, whatever the build time is for your local gunsmith. That's a problem. So that should be a deciding factor for you too. Barrels are an expendable device. Like, this gun has got over 1,500 rounds on it. And I mean, it still shoots lights out. I'm hoping it'll go to that 2,500, 3,000 mark. But if I notice my accuracy degrading in 300-400 rounds, guess what? Barrel out the door, new barrel in, let's go. Like, that's just the nature of the beast. I hope this helps you guys. Again, there's multiple ways to go about this. I have factory guns that I've got stocks on. I have full custom guns. I have factory Gucci guns. I've tried them all. I don't have that many guns. I've tried other guys' guns who have way more than me. And I'll tell you right now, it's whatever you use that makes you happy and gives you the most success. And there's multiple ways to get there. There isn't just one. So take it or leave it. Pick what you like. I mean, at the end of the day, 90% of the time it's sitting in the wall, you're staring at it. So if you don't like the look of it, then what's it worth? Anyways, guys, like and subscribe. Hoping to come out with some new content here soon on different hunting tactics and that sort of thing I use using these style of guns. But enjoy. Happy New Year, and more to come.